The president of the local Teamsters Union in Cincinnati in northern Kentucky is warning trucking companies to send trucks out in convoys after midnight on Monday.
This is Jerry Springer, as he was known to Cincinnatians throughout the 80s, local news anchor.
You know, the last thing he said is the most relevant if you listen to his show. He's not just a comedian and doing a lot of jokes and stuff. He is a real lobbyist. He is a lobbyist for the trucking people.
Yeah.
When they went on strike, he kind of organized them around the country. He's a hero.
He's been organizing throughout many states and doing a lot of work, and kind of fun to listen to, too. I have to admit.
I like that name, the trucking bozo.
I've listened to him every now and then, you know.
I could be the commentating bozo. Huh?
I would say something about maybe you already are, but then we'd get ourselves in big trouble, wouldn't we? I wouldn't say that.
He has been an attorney, a civil rights activist.
Jerry was also a two-term mayor in Cincinnati.
Thank you for letting the son of refugees of Nazi Germany make it in America.
Jerry was definitely a maverick politician and a bit of a showman. One time he wrestled a bear at the convention center during a show.
We were trying to raise money for the 1980 Olympics. And every minute we could stay in the ring, we would raise several $1,000s. Second round, I tapped the bear on the nose. Boom!
Watch out, you got it!
He went to becoming a commentator, and then he went to becoming a newscaster.
So over the next hour, we'll explore a variety of topics that you'll find on the ballot tomorrow.
If we don't find room for Jesse Jackson and the forgotten and alienated Americans he represents, if we chase these folks out of the system, what avenue is left for them to vent their anger? If the politicians won't listen, if the courts won't listen, if the media won't listen, if we keep chasing them away, we will eventually chase them onto the streets. And then suddenly we'll cry, "Oh, Jesse, could you help us?" But then it'll be too late, even for him. Because regardless of your personal view, you must admit most Americans
ready to dissolve his name out, ready to push it on
one. A fetus is yet a person, or abortion is the same thing as killing a born baby.
Dissolve, push it.
And because most Americans don't believe that, that's why abortion remains legal. And those who would bomb clinics to make their points are viewed as nothing less than criminal extremists. You see, the abortion battle is over whether the fetus is human. And a bombing is a futile and sick way to demonstrate anyone's humanity.
Despite his rough times, WLWT became the #1 news program in Cincinnati.
Because I was doing the news, I couldn't very well be dancing with the Chippendales in the afternoon if I was going to be doing serious news at night.
This isn't just blowing up fireworks, it's putting it together with great music. So if you turn on your radios at WEBN, we're having a simulcast with them. It's FM, we're in stereo. This goes off on history.
This is a whistle. You reckon we ought to give everybody a toot? A toot? Yeah, we'd love to hear a laugh. I think you heard it over there, right, Jerry, Norma?
We did.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, Pat, you always wanted to do that.
That's from me to you, okay?
Okay, yeah, you too, buddy.
Wait a minute. Let's
Well,
not get into that.
I'll translate Morse code to you later on.
Okay, I forgot about that.
Okay, well, you all put on a great show, and we look forward to you putting fireworks to the beginning of our news programs each night. I think that kind of give it a little boost that we don't have now, huh?
You do a fine job in covering it, too. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay. Thanks a lot. It's been a great party, great fun. We're going to be back with a little more right after this word. It's that in modern America, professional sports is about the only vehicle left to demonstrate a positive sense of community. Oh, certainly if disaster strikes, a tornado hits, or a hurricane ravages a town, everybody pulls together and there's a real feeling of shared concern, a sense of community. But other than disasters, what happens or what do we do in our daily lives that brings us all together? If Kroger has a record year in profits, do we all rally on Fountain Square? Hoo-day, hoo-day, who-day think's going to beat them cost cutters? This Bengal defense is coming very
Surprise
strong.
of the year right
very
there.
Strong.
Surprise
We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the World Series.
This is Cincinnati's year.
We're done.
It's
over with. Don't even buy the tickets. It's all over with. Don't worry about it. And that's all the time we have for now. Stay tuned for news updates every hour on the hour. Thanks for being with us.
And we're going to see you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
Good night.
No, the idea is we're going to spend a couple of months each week going into a different department of the city and just working as the city employees do. And the idea is just to get to know every facet of what the city does, the actual services. Sometimes if you're just sitting at City Hall, all you do is read budgets and you read descriptions, but I guess until you've been out on the street and actually working, you really don't get a feel for it. The streets are in terrible condition. It's 50 degrees below wind chill factor, and it's all ice. So what I'm asking is that all private vehicles stay off the streets.
That's pretty good for Mike.
And he had to have somebody in the back of the alley knocking down all those pins.
Yeah. Well, we're going to work on our bowling this weekend, and you have a very nice vacation.
Well, you've seen them advertised in newspaper inserts and on television sets. No, not television sets. You've seen them advertised in these newspaper inserts and on television. Hi.
But there's so little to do, even that councilman with the long hair can draw a crowd.
That is true. In the beginning, that first year they had the celebration back in 1977, it was kind of like a huge surprise. Now we kind of take it for granted, but it's hard to take this for granted.
It is absolutely beautiful, and every year there's something different. I'd like to go back to that shot we saw of you just a couple of minutes ago.
Where did they get
what was that year, 1977?
They had the Mr. America contest, and I was supposed to give a key to the city as the mayor. I took my shirt
and
off.
I'll
never do that again.
You'll never do that again. Okay.
Like that.
We'll be back with less of Jerry and more of Riverfest 90 right after this.
Good evening, I'm Jerry Springer. Coming up on News 5, if you drink decaffeinated coffee because you think it's healthy for you, well, think again. Doctors are warning it could be hazardous to your health. And a rash of accidents in the U.S. Navy has been so bad that the entire Navy is shutting down for 2 days. And you could call her the Queen of Cats. Meet Catherine Hilker and her kitties in Secrets of the Zoo. It's all on News 5 tonight at 11. See you then.
I am not God, nor am I a theologian. Good evening, I'm Jerry Springer. The sale of Home State is on shaky grounds. Chemical Bank says the $91 million proposed state contribution just isn't enough. We'll have a full report. Also, it seems as if everyone has a point of view on the Commissioner of Baseball's suggestion that drug testing be for all the players as well as the owners. We'll have a report on that. And Dave Robinson takes a look at Cincinnati softball and Norma Cincinnati Vice. We'll have all the news tonight at 11. Please join us.
And when you're hearing everybody yelling sweep, and at the beginning everybody thought that the Oakland A's would be sweeping out Cincinnati Reds, but boy did they have that wrong. We fooled the world.
There was a sweep, but this time it was the Reds sweeping the A's.
They are absolutely ecstatic. Half of them ought to be someplace else, either in school or in work. How many, time out, how many of you should be in school right now? Well, there goes your tax dollars for education.
Well, what is exciting is they're all a part of history. And they also like Jerry's commentary, so it can't be all bad.
Okay. Well, the inspiration comes not only from the fans for this great team and not only from the memories of years past, but also from some music which was put together. We played it all along this last month. Let's hear it one more time. You can't touch this.
You can't touch this.
I run because it has become increasingly evident that unless some new alternative, some new initiative, some new approach is injected into the political life of our community, we are destined to lose here at home the very prize we seek to defend abroad, the politics of participation.
Even spending the night in jail to push for prisoners' rights.
And they have a bucket there that to go to the bathroom, and they have straw mattresses.
The 43-year-old newsman was regularly being named Best TV Anchor in Cincinnati.
So, as I thank you tonight for the Best Anchor honor, as well as for accepting me in this dual role, I also must thank my bosses. First, because they deserve it. Second, because they may be watching. And thirdly, if
Jerry enjoyed his local celebrity.
I'm up at 5:30, and I'm never back in the hotel till midnight or 1. So I'm living on 4.5 hours sleep every day, and you're always on.
Jerry crisscrossed Ohio, hoping his magic would strike again. As Election Day grew nearer, it became clear it would not. So, in a move that made headlines around the country, Jerry and Mike Ford.
Live from Cincinnati, it's Rock Around the Block.
I'm Jerry Springer. The world changed, so we shouldn't be surprised that our colleges did too. We'll talk about it.
It's not approved by the FAA, but News 5's Laura Randall decided to give it a try anyway. It's called tandem skydiving. In tandem, two jumpers are strapped to each other, sharing one chute.
An excellent jump, and excellent photography by Ron Schmidt and everything. Wonderful.
To Laura, I've been here 10 years. That's as good as stories I've seen put together on the air. That was superb.
Excellent.
Not anything I want to try, but
You loved watching it.
yes.
We should clean up our coal, and in exchange for us cleaning it up, offer it to our own citizens and businesses at a reduced rate. That way people would have lower utility bills, and we'd create an incredible incentive for jobs to locate in Ohio.
Poetry doesn't have to.
It's kind of like, yeah.
No, it doesn't have to be roses are red, violets are blue. It's going to snow on you. No, it doesn't have to be like that. No.
I like that one, though.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Pat.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Pat. We've now been told, looks like it's going to be cold. Just ahead, a Northern Kentucky man may be up for a White House job, and in sports, nearly $1 million a year. That's the offer on the table to get the winning Super Bowl coach to change teams. That's coming up next.
Why do you think they call it Dolly?
Well, it is America's Cup, ain't it?
Not a bad idea.
There you have it from Dolly Parton and Brian Gumbel this morning on Today. We just had to get that in for you.
Yeah, well, I'll leave that alone.
Yeah,
Norma?
Good idea. We'll be back to wrap things up after this. What led local police investigators to a major drug operation in our area? You'll find out on News 5 tonight at 11.
Also tonight, what's the best-selling beer in the country? You might be surprised. And the Queen City welcomes a rock and roll star that's beginning to shine in other areas, too. J.D.?
I'm Jerry Springer here at the Vatican in Rome. The efforts of Cincinnatians to help the people of East Africa are being honored today by the Pope. I'll have that story tonight on News 5.
Where do I go? I love what I'm doing. I mean, I love being in politics. And that's the only thing I'm sure of, that I want to stay in that. I mean, I don't chart out my life saying in 1980 I'll be here, in 1984. I mean, I learned that you don't do that. So all I can say is that I'm going to stay active in politics and now concentrate on hopefully being a very good mayor. There are people really in need. As soon as we can get the food, we're going to get it out to these people.
The breaking tradition is hardly new to Jerry Springer. He does it 3 times a week with commentaries on Cincinnati's leading rock and roll radio station.
I'm Jerry Springer with an alternative plan for paying for mass transit. How about slot machines on all the buses? Think of the crowds our buses will attract.
The voters can't seem to resist a guy who wrestles bears and enjoys the disco scene. And that ability to win people over has begun to make political observers take his campaign seriously. But Springer still has a long way to go to win the Democratic nomination, with well-known names like Celeste, Brown, and Celebrezzi providing competition.
It isn't going to matter anymore who ran last time. People are going to want someone who really understands how to run, you know, a very major business in the state of, which is the state of Ohio, and to make it work. And I think the record in Cincinnati has been very positive. You know, we are one of the major American cities that's making it.
If Bart Giamatti would just say that, he'd be a national hero overnight. He'd have put the game ahead of his pride. Pete would have no excuse for not going ahead with the hearing. Both sides would be heard. The issue would be out of court. The question of Pete's betting finally settled. And once again, we could play ball. It'd be less dollars for the lawyers, but more common sense for the game. It has gotten even more complicated. Lawyers for Baseball Commissioner Bart Giamatti have just filed papers in federal court, suggesting Giamatti is the one who won't get a fair shake if the case is sent back to a county court here. News 5's Steve Forrest is live at the stadium. Steve, this is a new approach they're taking.
Yeah, definitely a new approach.
And so all these things we have alike, the stadium and the river and the bridges and the river boats and the rolling hills and the fountain and our newspapers, except their newspaper is wrong. Of course, they don't know it yet. Pirate fans swear they're #1. Also tonight, we'll have more on the investigation of what caused the explosion of the Challenger. Also, we'll tell you what the Ohio Legislative Committee investigating the collapse of Homestate has recommended to prevent another collapse. And you'll see how area school levies fared in voting around the area.
And our reporter for a day was Cincinnati Mayor Charlie Lucan.
Take care of yourself.
His commentaries were very good.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thought, all right. Certainly the right and decent way to live. Even we become pretty defensive over the subject. So perhaps we shouldn't be too surprised at the response.
Springer began his television broadcasting career at WLWT in 1982 as a political reporter and commentator.
Through his second career as a TV anchorman.
8 days ago, the bus drivers went on strike.
Despite no TV experience, Springer's editorials made his station #1.
And she wasn't a doctor or a scientist, but but for tens of thousands of kids for a half-century now, she was the best of medicine. A toy, a smile. Hey, hang in there, kids. Somebody loves you. Things will work out. Ruth Lyons and a Children's Christmas Fund has become perhaps our community's most lasting and visible testament to the notion that we think about more than ourselves, that we care about others, particularly God's greatest gift, the children. Look, our attitudes haven't changed. We'll pay blacks to perform for us, but we won't let them near the running of our businesses. And no, this isn't just a problem of baseball. I dare say the newspapers, television, and radio stations that have been lighting up on Marge and baseball's sorry record on race are just as white and just as closed off to minorities in their boardrooms. And maybe that's why this issue has touched such a raw nerve.
Coming up next on JTV, All Jerry, 24 hours a day, is the entertaining early career interview.
I think it'd still be the same. Highly visible, argumentative. I'm sure it'd be irritating to a lot of people as it was in the past, but certainly not softening position. Not, I'm not going to get a crew cut and start wearing a jacket and tie every place.
I have visited health clubs in Cincinnati on a number of occasions, but these were solely for legitimate purposes. To the best of my knowledge, no club in Cincinnati which I visited was engaged in any improper or illegal activities.
An attendance record was set at Riverbend tonight. It broke the record that was set last night by the same artist, Detroit rock and roller Bob Seger. And as Michael Collins reports, it's what Seger doesn't do as much as what he does that's kept him on top. So far, 3 Marines have been arrested in that case, but given that, the Pentagon's not taking any chances.
This is Steve Bailey, News 5 on the Night Beat.
Aw.
Good job.
It isn't so tough to start a television station either. That kid's got a future.
That's true.
They have my job.
Up next on News 5 tonight, a strange leader in the Masters golf tournament.
And if you're hoping to get some sun this weekend, you could be in for a surprise. We'll be right back.
I'm Jerry Springer, and I want to be your governor. Now, after sharing some specific solutions for our unemployment and education problems in this state, it looks like the nomination is finally within grasp, which makes what I'm about to tell you even more difficult. Some 9 years ago, I spent time with a woman I shouldn't have, and I paid her with a check. I wish I hadn't done that, and the truth is, I wish no one would ever know. But in the rough world of politics, opponents are not about to let personal embarrassments lay to rest. Perhaps like you, I'm not sure what any of this has to do with being governor, but maybe my talking to you about this makes a point. Ohio is in a world of hurt. The next governor is going to have to take some heavy risks and face some hard truths. I'm prepared to do that. This commercial should be proof. I'm not afraid, even of the truth, and even if it hurts. Come on, join me on June 8th. We're going to turn the state around.
Jerry Springer, Democrat for governor.
Hi, I'm News 5's Jerry Springer, and I want to show you a good idea. Each year, the American Red Cross sponsors HealthWorks, a chance for people to get their health checked. HealthWorks will be set up at various places throughout the month of April. Most tests are free, but there is a charge for some tests. Call the HealthWorks hotline for more information. The Red Cross is going places with HealthWorks, and getting your health checked is a good idea. All week, last 2 weeks, we've been covering the Olympics.
3 weeks almost.
Ken's now going to talk about a sport. I'll be honest, I use a snorkel in a bathtub, so it's not a...
glass of water bothers you, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a sport I relate to much, but I'm going to be interested in hearing about it. Ken?
What a scary thought that is, too.
Incidentally, tests run on game fish in the Ohio have turned up higher levels of toxic chemicals. The levels of PCBs and chlordane were up in fish tested, including catfish. Now, both chemicals can cause cancer. However, authorities say a person would have to eat tainted Ohio river fish every day for years for it to really be a health problem. Some workers at the Fernald uranium processing plant can breathe a little easier tonight. They'll make that a lot easier. Follow-up tests on 5 employees suspected of plutonium contamination have proven negative. News 5 spoke with some of the workers earlier this month. They were worried about getting cancer. Well, test results on another group of workers are not yet available. He's not here, of course, to celebrate his 50th birthday. He wouldn't have been if no one had the chance to see that. Our defiance, our youth, our naivety, and our vulnerability. What we remember most about Elvis is not the fact that he died, but we are reminded about the fact of when he was young and when he was young.
All right. Promo City. Hello, a lot of things have been happening lately here on News 5. Like Norma Rashid, she's been happening. We'll have an exclusive profile of the men and women battling vice in Cincinnati. I battled vice last night. I battled it all the way, and I finally gave in. I lost. Vice got the better of me. There was this woman, and there were these whips. Oof. Oof, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Perspiration upon the brow.
We better get started. She's getting too excited.
Good evening. More women are coming forward tonight saying they were victims of a perverse modeling scam conducted by a prison guard from Hamilton.
He told them he was a cop, and they trusted him. That's what one Harrison woman told me tonight. He is Mike Cohen, a guard at the Lebanon Correctional Institute and a trainer for area SWAT teams.
Yeah, but a lot of the horses are the same.
For updates every hour.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Until
Hopefully.
then, yes. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Good night.
Good night.
When he first assumed office, the significance of the moment was characterized in terms of Cincinnati having its first black mayor. But if we first took note of the color of his skin, we see him now for the compassion in his heart, a life unswervingly committed to securing and preserving the dignity of every person by virtue of his or her membership in the human race.
You see, the Klan is not a religion. It's a political organization with a political agenda. Basically, it wants an all-white America, or at least one that is racially separated. And while that organization is so hated and poisonous to the very principles of America, it has every right to apply for a permit to hold a rally on Fountain Square, just as the Republicans and Democrats do during presidential elections.